I want to be clear that I was one of the ones who laughed. Not loudly. I'm not a loud person, and the situation didn't call for loud. But when Marcus Webb walked into the hiring meeting for the new head of culinary operations at the Meridian Hotel Group with a takeout container of home food and no formal credentials, and the HR director looked at his application and said, "I'm sorry, is this a joke?" I looked at the container and I looked at Marcus and I thought, yes, this is a joke. I was the deputy director of food and beverage. I had been in hospitality for 22 years. I knew what a credentialed candidate looked like. That's what I want to be honest about. I was wrong, and I was wrong in a particular way, not just about his cooking, which turned out to be extraordinary, but about what I was looking at when I looked at him, which was a man in a wrinkled button-down with a kid's drawing on a folded paper sticking out of his jacket pocket. And I read the full story from those two facts, and all of it was wrong. His name was Marcus Webb, and he was 41, and he was a single father to a 10-year-old named Delia, and he had been cooking professionally for 16 years, not in hotels, not in the kind of restaurants that get reviewed in the publications our HR director read, but in the kind of places that the people who work in reviewed restaurants go to eat on their nights off. He had been the head cook at a neighborhood restaurant in the West Side called Polly's for 11 years. Polly's had 34 seats and no website, and a handwritten menu that changed every week, and a line out the door on Friday nights of people who had been coming every Friday for a decade. It had never been reviewed in a major publication because the owner, a woman named Polly Hatch, who was 73, and had built the place with her late husband, had declined every review that was offered. It didn't need it. Marcus had worked for Polly since he was 28, through the years before Delia, and then the years after her mother left, and then the years of raising Delia alone with the particular logistics of a single father working a kitchen, the after-school pickups he had worked out with a neighbor, the Tuesday evenings when Delia sat at the prep table doing homework while he got the stocks going, the way he had built his schedule around the one non-negotiable, which was that he was home for dinner with her every night that did not involve a kitchen emergency. And there were very few kitchen emergencies at Polly's because Marcus ran a very calm kitchen. None of this was in his application because none of it was the kind of thing that fits in an application. He had applied for the Meridian position because Polly's was closing. Polly Hatch was 73 and tired, and her landlord had not renewed the lease, and she had told Marcus in March that she thought it was time. He had 3 weeks to find something. He had applied everywhere he could reasonably apply in those 3 weeks. The Meridian was, objectively, a reach. We were looking for a director of culinary operations for an 8-restaurant hotel group, and the standard candidate was someone with a Michelin star or a James Beard nomination, or at minimum 10 years of high-volume operations management. Marcus had none of these things. He had a takeout container and a résumé that listed one restaurant, 34 seats, 11 years. He also had, because the application asked for a food sample at the recruiter's suggestion, a container of braised short rib over white polenta with a preserved lemon gremolata that he had made that morning at 5 a.m. before dropping Delia at school. The HR director from the food sample, unusual. I said I would try it. I tried it because I was curious about the audacity of it, not because I expected it to be good. That's the honest version. I ate it at my desk at 11:45 in the morning, and I sat there for a moment afterward, and then I ate the rest of it, and then I picked up the phone and called our head of culinary and said, "Did you try the sample from the web application?" He said, "What sample?" I said, "There was a food sample in a takeout container. In the applications pile." He said, "I saw a container. I assumed it was someone's lunch." I said, "Can you try it?" He said, "Marcus," I said, "please try it." He tried it. He called me back in 12 minutes. We brought Marcus in for a second interview, which was a practical interview. We gave him a kitchen, a protein, 6 ingredients, 40 minutes, and the instructions to cook something that told us who he was. He made a brined pork shoulder that he had set up in his home kitchen the night before, which he had anticipated would be the format of the interview and had prepared for accordingly. The pork had been brining for 18 hours. He brought it in a sealed container on ice. The panel ate in silence. I had been doing this for 22 years. I knew the difference between competent and revelatory. What Marcus Webb produced in 40 minutes with a protein he had brained for 18 hours in advance was not competent. It was the kind of food that makes you recalibrate your sense of what a kitchen can do. We offered him the position. He asked, before he accepted, whether he could negotiate one term. He said, He would need every Tuesday afternoon free by 4:15, without exception. Delia had a piano lesson on Tuesday afternoons at 4:30, and the lesson was a 40-minute drive, and she had been working toward her grade 6 exam for 7 months, and he had not missed a single lesson in 7 months, and he was not going to start. The HR director looked at me. I said, "We can build that into the contract." Marcus said, "Good." He accepted. He has been director of culinary operations at the Meridian for 3 years. Our F&B revenue is up 31% in the first 2 years, which is the kind of number that does not happen accidentally. He has a reputation in the industry now, the kind of reputation that takes years to build in the right rooms, and that Marcus built in 18 months, because the food does the work, and the food is always, without exception, the food. He still does Tuesday afternoons at 4:15, non-negotiable 3 years in. The contract says so, and it will continue to say so. Delia passed her grade 6 exam in May of the second year, and Marcus brought a cake to the office the following morning and left it in the break room with a note that said, "Grade 6, she killed it." The HR director, who had initially said, "Is this a joke?" had a piece and told me afterward it was the best cake she had ever eaten in her professional life. It was. He had made it the night before. I laughed when he walked in with the takeout container. I want to put that on record again, for accuracy. I have not laughed at anything Marcus Webb has done since then, and I don't expect to start.